Hello, it's time for my update. I had my half marathon yesterday, so today's probably the perfect day to just chill, take things slower, relax, and use this time to, record this video and update you on what's happened since I last spoke on here. Trying to think, so much is going on, and I feel like I've got so many tabs open, and I'm doing so many things and editing and creating and then posting. So it's like, as much as I would love to be on a flow and talk and record as much as I could, but I've got to pick up from somewhere. Yeah, so starting from yesterday, I did my half marathon, and that was pretty freaking sweet. I've been saying I want to do this for a few years now, but the opportunity just it wasn't the right time. When I It was always like my 30 things I wanted to achieve to do before I turned 30. And then, life happens. And so I was like, let me turn it into like 30 things to do in 30, basically, like as I was 30 years old at the time. And then obviously life happens. And I had started my training, but then me and my ex broke up and I was going through a massive life shift. So, and to be fair, I give myself credit because like I was quite adamant to make it happen, but with trying to get my life off the ground and figure out my work situation and my schedules all over the place, especially when you're temping, you're like kind of like here, there, everywhere. So yeah, I ended up quitting after like week 5 into my training plan. But when it's like everything happens for a reason, and as long as you set an intention, regardless, like who cares about these like societal timelines? And I'm guilty. I've definitely been the person to be like, oh, I've got to do this before 30, I've got to do that, da, da, da. And like, it's a good wake up call. It's just like, who gives a shit? As long as you do it, and if it's meant for you, then cool. Whether it's 30, 31, 32, 40, whatever, it's still a massive achievement. You did it. Where maybe I don't know what statistics are, but I'm sure majority of people don't even do things like this. So yeah, when the opportunity arose at work, when it came up saying, oh, some of my work colleagues had signed up to do the Richmond run. Some were doing either like 10K, half marathon. I was like, you know what, this is it. I think this is my time. So without even a shadow of a doubt, even like I went into it not even questioning my decision. I was like, yep, sign me up, I'll do it. And to be fair, I had signed up a long time ago, but I gave myself 10 weeks to train, and yeah, it was pretty good. I got to a point that I started to really enjoy it. And the big day was yesterday, and it was good. It was good. I think because I had pushed myself prior to doing 20 kilometers in my training plan, and like it was never part of my plan to do that, but I was like, let me just push myself. I think I had experienced that, like what they call, as they call it, runner's high. So when it came to it, came to doing it yesterday, I did go in feeling quite like rest assured. Like I wasn't as intimidated because I was like, well, I've done it now. Like I've done it once before, so this is going to be sweet. Do you know what I mean? So you've already like you can mentally imagine and picture yourself like you've done it. So this is no biggie. But I wasn't expecting to feel so. I don't know. Like I don't feel like it was my best run, which I need to process that a little bit. So I've been feeling a little bit like meh. But how weird is that? Because I've gone from like never running to running, and now I'm like, well, I could have done better. Anyways, that wasn't the point of the video, and I've gone 6 minutes into it. But yeah. So that was that. So really and truly, like a lot of my focus has been on this training, and obviously with that comes with editing videos I've been doing on a weekly basis, and making sure I'm consistent with actually doing my runs. So now that's out of the way, I can actually pour more mental focus on like areas of my life that I need to really focus on, basically. So I did, after that initial video that I said like I can't remember what I said. I would love to read back. I was like, you're on the flow and you just say things and you're like, wow, I don't know what to go for me. But I do recall saying that I need to get serious about the direction of my life, basically. And I was speaking about how I'm going to start reading this book, Start With Why. And what's interesting is that, it's got really hot actually. excuse me. I swear the UK can't make up its mind whether it's going to be hot or cold. But what's interesting, what I've noticed, is that like I can have the best intentions of like, this is what I want to do, this is my plan, my goal, um, the direction I want to head. But then I can have all the willpower, all the motivation, but like all of a sudden, I'm just like, when it comes to actually put into action, I start to procrastinate. I start to distract myself. I don't tackle it. It's like I had this inner conflict and battle. So when I bought that book, Start with Why, I had also bought this Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, and unintentionally I just gravitated to reading this because I feel like I am saying I want to achieve this. I want to make this happen. I need to get serious about my life. But then again, it's like I kind of revert to just like doing my old patterns and behaviors and whatnot. So I thought, I'm just very curious about the psychology of what's going on in my head. Like, why do I experience this? There must be a solution to what's going on. And it's been super freaking interesting, really. And it's quite empowering in a way because I literally thought there was like something wrong in the mechanics of my brain. I'm just like, maybe it's just me because everyone else seems to have these goals and achieve them and make them happen. But I noticed that like, no, it's so basically, to give you a summary of what I've learned so far, it's like he basically talks about how we all have a self-image of who we are, the identity that we've created through our beliefs and through our thoughts and beliefs, and stories that we've like interpreted, created from our past memory, and so we've, as a result, we've created a self-image of the person we perceive to be, and that's what we project into the world. So like I may say like, oh, I'm successful and this and that, but if I have this narrative play in the back of my mind, like, that I can't do this or something, you just have these self-limiting beliefs of like some BS that you've created along the way. That's what can basically cause you to halt and just like, yeah, and have those inner conflicts. See, do you know what's another thing that I need to tackle? And as I'm like come to like now teach you, I don't know what it is. Like the self-limiting belief is telling me like why, you know, this is a great example. So as I'm here to like teach you, there's this literally in the back of my head a self-limiting belief saying, why are you acting up like you can't teach someone, you don't know what you're talking about. And then as a result of having that thought, I had the best intention to share the knowledge because obviously that's another best way to retain the information. But then there's like this inner self-sabotage of me shutting down and reverting again, shifting back to the old identity of who I've known myself, because in the past I would never come to share, and like like I would find it very difficult to share my thoughts, share my share my knowledge, because I just feel like, oh, I'm going to butcher it. And I literally have verbally said that in the past, like I'm going to butcher it, like I don't know what I don't know what I'm saying, da, 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 da. In the book it literally talks about, it all comes back to our past, we've picked it up, and it's important to also go back to that memory and like, and I guess like changing the narrative. But yeah, what's different in this book is that there's so many juicy parts to it. I feel like I've moved so further along where I'm trying to think what stood out. But yeah, like when you talk about the self-image, even though it's like our brain literally works into two. It's like we have this like creative success mechanism, or it's either destructive, and it's about like what you tap into, what you believe, what you put into, and there's so many good examples that is given of like, see, I'm doing it. I'm literally doing it. Like, but okay, I need to just chill. Like I think the beauty of this book, where it like literally tells you, is to don't read it as rushing through. It's literally to breathe it in, to really sit with it, put it into practice, exercise, and have these like mental breakthroughs. But yeah, I think it's got to a point where I feel like I need to get the information out to remember from the top of my memory. Yeah, ultimately, like our brain is literally this machine of like, we can literally tap into what we want to believe. And I think the beauty of the chapter that I'm on was basically saying like, we have the power to change it. It's like, yeah, of course, like whatever we manifested or we're seeing this reality is because of the identity that we've attached to from our previous thoughts and beliefs, basically. And what was really profound about the chapters that I was reading was basically saying how and I think this correlates perfectly with the next stage of what I need to do in terms of my journey, and I've been alluding to this point, is basically to start from the end result. It's quite cool because I've been listening to a lot of like Neville Goddard's teachings. It's the whole principle around like act as if like the reality that you want for it to happen, and this is what, so like again, the timing of what I'm listening to as well as reading this book is basically saying like it's all well and good to have all the goals and dreams and desires, but but the thing is, like, if your mental self-image doesn't align with it, then it's going to clash basically. So it's basically saying like, first, before you start to do anything, visualize, mentally rehearse like the successful version of you, like actually doing the thing of, and for it to be so specific and such detailed, in such detail. So basically he was given an example of like someone was basically like a darts playing, I can't remember, like it's some dart player, but before he did it, he mentally rehearsed in his head like he could literally visualize him aim for it. And something so powerful about the brain is that there was a study comparison of those who had not done the visualization, mentally rehearsing, as compared to those who had done it, and like the results were so much significantly higher. And those dart players would always aim and hit it, you know, bullseye or whatever. And it was another thing that was really profound is saying how like the brain is so intelligent, is that like even if you aim, even if you position your body wrong or you aim quite off or something, because you had mentally rehearsed it, somehow it would correct that error. And I thought that was such an interesting take, because without even noticing, like again, see, when I was about to come and teach you what I had learned, because of my mentally like rehearsing from past memories of like me trying to explain to someone and I've not been able to find the correct words or whatever, I started to get all rigid and I lost my focus, my flow of like even sharing it. But then if I had gone into this with like actually pictures of myself doing it really well, I would have probably been able to share it a lot better, share the knowledge for it to come across a lot better. And I'm sure next time around, I remember this recording and I'm like, okay, see, right now I am sharing my knowledge well, you know, it's getting better with practice, etc., etc. I'm going off a bit, of course, because I'm trying to relate it to my own life with examples for it to click into my mind. Yeah, basically talking about mentally rehearsing from the end result. So getting so clear about where you want to go and what you want to do. And what was so profound, which I found it fascinating, because it was saying like sometimes we have these goals, these ideas, what we want to do, and we give it all our might and force and conscious effort and so much strain, but then it clashes again with that like inner conflict of like that mental imagery of we have, and then it's like the old and the new identity kind of fighting against each other. And I think that's the whole purpose around why you should mentally rehearse it. So it's like the new kind of, you gravitate to the new, because it starts from the mind and then the actions kind of follow. And that's the whole point, is like start from the end result, and instead of like, you know, having all the willpower and all the conscious effort and strain, it can be a lot more easier. Like your mind is like, okay, this is what we're going to do, this is the vision, this is the, and it will naturally create all the positive actions to get to that end goal, if that makes sense. And the reason why I found it so like, it's like a light bulb moment for me, is because I've done this once before in my life. Oh god, I just realized that one of my nails is missing. One of my nail colours is missing. Excuse me. I hope you didn't pick up on that until I mentioned it. I thought another, yeah, so the example where, see what I mean? What the hell? So the light bulb moment that I had, where I was like, oh my gosh, like I can attest to this because it's happened in my own life, is yeah, literally during lockdown, the first lockdown, sorry, I was like, I've got nothing to lose. I was like, let me put this whole manifestation to practice. Did all the scripting, did all the visualization, just sleep meditation, dreaming in such detail of my like dream life, being by the sea, living abroad with my partner, the apartment, you know, like the natural light beaming through, the lifestyle. And I kid you not, I didn't do anything like we're forced to make it happen. I didn't even know how it was going to be a reality. I literally just detached from it, and I kind of forgot about it, you know, like I just got on with normal day-to-day life, went back to my normal reality. And I don't know, I guess I started to act on what felt right and reconnect with my inner truth and follow that basically. And it literally led me to like obviously meeting my ex, well, yeah, meeting my ex, and then we both were like aligned at the same time, and we just went for it. We just somehow went for it with no, because obviously, like, it sounds so much more. It sounds easy when you say it like that, right? But then, you know, like when you come to making big life changing decisions, there can be a lot of conflict. There can be a lot of like going back and forth, da da da. But because I guess with the timing of like, you know, I was probably in a more financially more better position, or like lack of responsibility, or whatever it was, like the timing was so perfectly aligned that I didn't have anything gripping me. And so when it happened, when I met my ex-partner, it was just like off we went, and everything just aligned so perfectly with like even our apartment. We moved into my dream apartment anyway, identical to life that I envisioned, you know. um Beautiful apartment, open space, overlooking the nature. And honestly, at the time that we moved there, it was like peak what they call it, peak summertime for Mexico, basically. So all expats will be moving out there. So it was barely any apartments, but again, we happened to find the perfect apartment, enjoyed it for the first 6 months, and then also living by the sea was idyllic. Like, I never in a million years thought I'd be moving to like Tulum, for of all places, but somehow we ended up there, you know, and never in a million years would have thought I'd be going to Mexico, but we ended up there. So that's another thing that kind of registered in my head, like, huh, that makes sense, because I just literally set the intention, got so clear about the kind of life that I wanted, and the rest was kind of irrelevant, like the location, where, this, that, and that. I just knew what I wanted and how I wanted to feel, and like, um, yeah, it just makes you feel a bit more relaxed, because I think ever since I kind of moved back to London, like I felt like I had to get serious about my life. I had to, you know, quote, like, get realistic, you know, whatever. And I feel like I put life into hard mode. And this reading this book, I'm literally on chapter 2. It just made me kind of gave me that confirmation, like, no, it doesn't need to be like that. You can just relax into it and just trust it's all going to work again in this right time, right place. And actually, you can make the shift now. It doesn't have to be at a later stage. You just got to get really clear. And I've realized, like, I've really clouded my focus for a while, because I haven't been quite clear about what direction I want to go, because I know I'm quite like multifaceted in terms of my interests, my passions, and this and that. So I've kept it very broad. But then obviously with that, your energy is a lot more scattered, and kind of you can go with whichever flow of life. And I think in the back of my head, I've also been low key scared, because as much as it was amazing, that, you know, there's a lot of there's a lot that comes with it, and it's not a bad thing. I've always had life on, like, I don't want to say easy mode. Like in my 20s, I never took life seriously, and it's literally been the last few years where I've like kind of I've woken up and I'm like clued on to like how things work, and I'm no longer in that kind of naive like dreamland state, and grasp how reality works, basically. And where I was, you go through the motions of life, learning, experiencing, and then you're feeling triggered, and then you're like trying to navigate through that, and then it's all happening in real time, as well as like you've got your day-to-day responsibilities. But then also, what's any different to what I'm doing now? So might as well actually be quite clear and intentional about like the dream desired life that you want, because those big problems are going to be the same as your little problems, so make it worthwhile, basically. I hope that makes sense. I hope that made sense. I feel like it's starting to like make sense in my brain. But as a result, this is what I've been kind of doing, and alongside it, I've been also doing the Artist Way journal prompts, and I've completed week 1. It took longer than just a week. Okay, I don't know, something's going on the last week and a half, 2 weeks. I don't even know how long it's been since I actually started. But so yeah, today I did my check-in. But why not do it together and share it? Share it on this video, because yeah, it makes sense. Okay, so week 1 was recovering a sense of safety, and so they give you obviously like a couple of tasks to do. And I typically do it like first thing in the morning, after I've done my morning pages. So it depends on my feeling, on my mood. I'll either like read my book and then complete these tasks. Or so yeah, I'll check in. Yeah, at the end of the week, you do a check in, and the question is, how many days this week did you do your morning pages? 7 out of 7. We always hope. How was the experience for you? How was the experience for me? I would say, to be completely honest, like I found it quite difficult this week. I mean, the last week and a half. Maybe that's the reason why it took longer than expected. Um, I find myself like I couldn't get through to doing 3 pages free flowing, like unconscious stream. Does that even make sense? Like just like unconscious, just like flowing for 3 pages straight. Basically, I found myself like getting to like 1 page and 2 page, wanting to call it quits and like just keep it moving. It's getting late, whatever it was, and so there was like inner blockages, and I found like I've had like people kind of coming back into my life, and I realized like I'm feeling a little bit protective of my inner state and I don't know. I guess like I also don't want to focus on like dwelling on the negative. So I'm like, oh, it's not necessary. Let's just bypass it. Let's just keep it moving. But then the whole point of doing the morning pages is that you clear out all the gunk so you can make space for like your, tapping into your true inner self, and kind of reconnecting with that voice within. Because when your mind is so cluttered with just crap, it's like the whole purpose is to get it like to paper, so it's like out of the way. And sometimes you can make sense of it, but I don't know. I don't know whether you want to call it distraction, keeping up there as an excuse. But when you've been avoiding tapping in for a little while, so sometimes there's a little sense of fear that comes in the way of like what's going to be revealed, and what have you been avoiding this whole time, and just addressing it. So yeah, I've noticed that's been the case of um of not of doing my morning pages basically. And like she does say in the first chapter that like you're gonna have moments where you're like, oh, this is still stupid, I can't do it, I'm not getting anywhere, and it's just kind of like just pushing through it. And once you do, I always see the result. I'm always like, okay, yeah, like this is great. And I think it's like, what was the chapter called again? Recovering a sense of safety. So yeah, maybe that's what it is. Did you do your artist date this week? And yes, of course, we always hope, and yet artist dates can be remarkably difficult to allow yourself. What did you do, and how did it feel? Um, I didn't do it in a normal sense of how I've done it in the past. Like, I don't know, I guess taking myself on a romantic date in a way. But I would say, doing this half marathon, I can say that was my artist date. Um, that was a big challenge. And, it was, I kind of wish I spent it. So basically, I had on my runs the last few times, I've had my speaker out loud and I put some like really upbeat music, and it helps with just the motivation to push through. But I low key wish I didn't have that so much of the time because I wasn't really connecting with myself. And but I did have moments where I could hear myself come through, and it was such a pinnacle point in my life because I've never envisioned. Basically, I grew up being like the least sportiest person. It's not in my upbringing to be active, and in only in the last few years I've really like been getting into my fitness a bit more. And so to do this challenge was big. Um, yeah, it was big because it was a moment where I was like, damn, I promised myself that I want to do something, and and I did it. I did the hard thing. I proved myself that I can do it, and I can keep my promises. And when you do one big challenge, you're like, what's the next? I can do more. And I think that is so empowering and encouraging. Again, tying into like the theme of what I'm learning about the self image, it's important to have these little memory slots of like, yeah, if you've done this, you can do something else. You can do something even bigger, harder. Um, so yeah, I think that's quite beautiful. Like that was not my usual um, artist date I would have had planned, but I think it was exactly what I needed. And yeah, I was very proud. I was very proud that I did it. Stay consistent, disciplined, regardless of like how fast I did it and what time and pace and all this nonsense. But it's a matter of getting it done. And if I can do this, we've got the rest. Were there any other issues this week that you consider significant for your recovery? Describe them. So this is the last question. And is there any other issues? Trying to think what comes up for me as I'm thinking. I think, yeah, a lot's been coming to the forefront of my mind about people that I need to speak with, and and I've been just avoiding it, having those serious, uncomfortable conversations, and realizing, like, I don't know, the destruction that I probably created in the past through avoiding these conversations to heal the past anyway. And also, I would say, yeah, I think some things have started to also make sense. Not necessarily an issue, but like, yeah, I'm kind of making more sense about how to, yeah, I've been noticing like where I've been leaking my energy, where too many people have access, and how that's influencing the way I show up. And, I think also recording these videos made me realize like, I don't want to be in this up and down turmoil of like feeling good, feeling down, feeling good. Um, then that's when you have to be like, okay, what are you doing that you're getting yourself caught up in a cycle? Um, so it's made me realize like I need to stop seeing myself as treat myself as a victim and actually like eliminate it. So I've had that uncomfortable conversation with myself, and I think I've made this decision depending on how things pan out. Um, and also speaking to some random person. This video is longer than I expected, but yeah, this random person from the past, which I never really like knew properly, but again, strange how the world works. But sometimes you meet people or reconnect or just talk even for a brief moment in time, but they help you to remember, like, I don't know, how off track you are. And I think I've just been so caught up in the matrix kind of like idea of what life looks like, where I've lost I've lost focus on like what the actual reality is and where I should be pouring my attention to. I don't know, I may have said this in the past in my recordings, but yeah, that's come up for me because I think it's helping with like the direction of my life is heading, basically, in terms of this transitional point. And it's making me think I need to pour more energy into building the life that's aligned with me. I can't have my eggs in all these baskets. And I think it's obviously it came from a place of wanting to be safe, feel safe. But um but yeah, I'm ready to take bigger risks in order to see the change, the shift in my life. Like I'm done with playing it small, playing it, because I've seen the cost that it's making in my life. And yeah, whether that's tying in all together perfectly with what I'm reading, consuming, but I'm just like I need to kill the old version of me and really break into the new. Um, and the only way to see those big leaps, changes, is to really do something so drastically different from your current reality and make those bold decisions, and to just take that leap of faith. And I feel like I'm getting there, or I'm actually there. So I'm just pouring more energy and love into that. And yeah, I think that's answered that question. On that note, I'm gonna I'm gonna leave it here and just marinate in that for a little second. But huh, yeah. But yeah, I think the next time that I would make a recording, I would have put into action about, yeah, gaining clarity over my life and how that looks. And yeah, getting clear about the life that I want. So I won't be back until I do that. You get me? Cringe. But yeah. See you later.